Hey everyone, it's Merja and Amelia here. Welcome to Real Conversations with INFJs and INFPs. This is season 1 and the final episode of this season, and my final episode with Amelia for now, episode 6.
Yay!
Yay!
Merja is an INFJ and is the author and facilitator of the Integration Mentor Program. She is also an MBTI certified practitioner and personality profiler. She is the founder of Sumiloff Academy of Human Integration and the INFX Project. She has also written 2 best-selling courses, the For People Within, which is an extension on Jungian work, and the INFX Unveiled, INFX Deep Dive, and INFX Mastermind, which all show INFJs and INFPs how to live a more authentic and productive life. When she is not busy with work, which seems like all the time, she is spending time with her partner Peter and their collection of beloved dogs and horses.
Yeah, and as you very well know, we just got a new horse to the flock, so it's very exciting. And Amelia here, of course, is a mentor who helps people become free of emotional abuse. And with Amelia's work, her clients finally move on from what's been holding them back in life. And she's a fully qualified integration mentor and loves helping clients transform themselves. When she's not working, Amelia is looking at her own personal development, spending time in her garden, reading, cooking, and walking her dog. So I'm super excited to be here with you today, Amelia, for our last session for now. Perhaps you'll come for a visit. But today we're interviewing Amelia with some rapid fire questions. And I hope that it'll help you to get to know her a little bit better and see if she could be someone that could help you with what's going on for you. So Amelia, tell me, what is it like inside of your head? I know these are rapid fire questions, so this might take a while, but tell us, what's it like inside your head?
So, in a rapid fire way, inside my mind is like different thoughts coming at me. And if I can be aware of these different, if I can like sit down and be like, okay, is this the thinker? Is this the feeler? Is this the intuitive part of me? Is this the sensor? I can start to make sense of what's going on. If I can't, or kind of narrow it down to one of the 4 and the thoughts are just kind of going, it can be kind of chaotic because it's just like thoughts and thoughts and thoughts, and I don't really know how to like soothe them, and I don't know how to differentiate between them. So it can be when things are going well, I can recognize these 4 parts and then understand how to keep me moving forward with that rather than just be stuck in it.
Right. And so when things are going well, how does that feel different to when things are not going well? So when, your 10-year-old and a 3-year-old inner children. So when your inner children get activated, like what's the difference for you when things are going well as opposed to when there's a inner child activation going on?
So when things are going well, I feel happy. I feel like I can move forward with life. I feel like there are, it's happy. I'm like, things are good. Things are coming together in ways that maybe I didn't expect. When things aren't going well, it can be like I'm hitting my head against the wall or kind of having emotional meltdowns for random reasons that I'm not really quite sure why. Although with my personal development, even having these meltdowns have gotten easier because some of the other things on top of them that I used to feel like I needed to be perfect. So when I was having these meltdowns, it was like added that on top of it. So when you can take some of the stuff off, the meltdowns aren't so bad anymore.
Okay, so you've not only learned how to deal with the meltdowns, you've also kind of gone, meltdowns are just a part of your life and they will happen. And that doesn't mean that you're somehow, a bad person or, in any of those things. So a lot more, it sounds to me like a lot more self-acceptance in that way.
Yeah, and I just went through a hard time that I felt quite lost and like I couldn't trust myself, and
Yeah.
it felt like I was just a a boat floating in the sea that was okay with being lost. Like I'm just
Right.
out here. I don't know where land is. I don't know how to get back to land. I don't know if there are any boats around me. I'm just here, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
So
So learning being okay, not being okay.
yeah.
Brilliant. So tell us about something that's challenging you right now.
So something that's challenging me right now is, well, as this is now the 21st of January, in 2021,
2021. Yeah.
Biden just got elected. So it's going to be, I'm excited and also nervous to see how things go moving forward, especially with
Mm.
um, how caught how caught up the country has been the past 4 years and
Yeah.
decisive. So
Yeah.
that's interesting, big picture. Personally, I am looking forward to making more money and figuring out ways to have more consistent money coming in every month. So that
Yeah.
is the challenge I'm facing right now personally.
Yeah. And why are those things challenging for you? Like what is it bringing out in you? If we think about you from an INFJ's perspective.
So the political stuff is, I think, bringing out the conflict and also needing some kind of peace and stability, which
Yeah.
4 years with Trump gave little of that.
Mm.
So that is triggering that. Financially, it's kind of the same thing with needing more stability and feeling like my inner children can relax around that.
Yeah. Like predictability and, I kind of know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what have you done in relation to those things? Let's start with the political that hasn't been helpful. Like what are some actions that you've been taking to try to deal with the challenges that hasn't been helpful for you?
So watching the news a lot has not been helpful.
Yeah.
Spending a lot of my time and energy focused on that, because political stuff is something that, yes, I can impact it with voting. Yes, I can contribute
Yes.
money, but it's like I
Yeah.
can't really day to day, unless I'm actually going to be a politician and actually get involved on that level or become a lobbyist. I don't have a lot of power over what's going on. So it's like that's not me. Spending a lot of my time with that is not really helpful for what I'm trying to do with my life. So it's like I need
Yeah.
to get little bits of this to understand what's going on, but at the same time not have that rule my life
Yeah.
energetically.
Yeah, because that's a tough one. That is a really tough one, being distracted all the time by, what's going on, and because there doesn't seem to be any end to it either.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
always something else with politics.
yeah, yes, there is. Yeah, and money-wise, what have you done that hasn't worked? And I know a lot of people are kind of going like, well, I'm an emotional spender. I don't know if you have that. What have you done with things that hasn't helped?
I've projected onto money. I've used money to make me feel safe. I've had to realize that money is not trying to play games with me, or it's not out to get me. I've had
Mm,
to and none of this is helpful with money. It's like
sure.
if I was thinking these things about money, then this is not helpful
Yeah.
with that. So what has been helpful with money is getting clear on what I'm contributing to my relationship with money. And as I start to tear
Yeah.
off the fears, the insecurities, the limiting beliefs, all of this stuff, my relationship is getting healthier, and just even feeling better about money. Like what I've been doing over the past 6 months or so has been helpful with that,
Yeah.
because so much of what I'm learning about the relationship with money is how you feel about it. Like if you feel like
Yeah.
like there's never enough, if you feel like there's never going to be enough money, if you feel like money is the devil, then it's going in a, you know, this all impacts your relationship with money.
Absolutely. And it activates like on a really granular technical level. It activates your subconscious mind to look for those occasions where, you know, there is no money, I'll never make enough money. Well, yeah, your subconscious is going to look for those spaces and point them out. And that can be dangerous in and of itself. So yeah, that, and I like how you kind of look at it from a zoomed out perspective. So not necessarily you're like, what can I do to try and scramble together more money? You're so because you could go and get a job for example, you could go and get a part-time job. You know, you're in the process of launching your mentoring career, and unfortunately the COVID situation hit, and so everything is delayed. But the fact is that, you know, you could go, oh, I want to go and get a job, and have that knee-jerk reaction, whereas you're going like, you know what, I know I'm contributing to this in some way. What is it that I'm contributing to this? How do I need to change things so that I can harness that subconscious mind and look for those opportunities to make the money that I want to make? And that can be hard for a lot of INFJs in particular, because there's the whole thing of, you know, I want security and I want predictability, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally fine. Like that's completely okay, of course. And then that tends to put us into that space of, I have to have a job that I don't love. So there's that dynamic that's in play as well. So that's really highly insightful of you to kind of go like, okay, so how am I contributing to this relationship with money, and what needs to happen from my end before I move into taking action? So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and if you, the other thing is, if you go in that mindset gives you the power to like strategize and look at, okay, what are the on my money chessboard, what are the pieces in play, and how can I use them to work for me rather than against me?
Absolutely. And as an INFJ, sorry,
go for it.
No, as an INFJ as well, your thinker is in the 10-year-old position, which means that, and it's inward facing. What that means is that you're not going to be, you are not naturally a person who is high in strategy, in strategizing, and you're much more likely to be wanting to be tactical with things, with, you know, your thoughts and your actions, if you're utilizing that 10-year-old, because tactics is all about soothing yourself, where strategy is all about organizing things in the outside world. And of course for INFJs it's inward thinking as opposed to outward thinking that we're utilizing predominantly. So knowing that, what you can also do is, and sorry, we're going down a rabbit hole, but this is something that really was helpful for me, and I'm hoping that if anybody else is tuning in, that might be helpful for you, Amelia, but might be helpful for other people as well, is make sure that your tactical actions actually line up with your strategy. So what is the outcome that you want? And then, because you know you're not super good at strategizing, look at the tactical things that you could do right now, and then look at, does this tactic actually line up with the strategy that I'm wanting to achieve, or the goal and the vision that I'm wanting to achieve. So try to match your tactics in with your strategy, and learn about strategy that way. And of course, always keep learning about strategic thinking, strategic, you know, actionable, like prioritizing and executing what's the most highest leverage piece of, like what's the biggest lever you can pull right now to get the most results. So yeah, sorry. Shall we go shall we go back into like what has actually helped you? What are the things that have helped you in those situations, you know, with the political and the money? What are the things that has helped you with your challenges?
Yeah, so political, stop watching the news so much. That's number one thing. Also, looking at ways if things are going to be okay. I've heard a lot of people being like, how is this change going to happen? Was there going to be
Yeah.
attack yesterday? And it's like, okay, yes, this could happen.
Yeah.
So it's also keeping my intuition in check without going like, I know this is going to happen. I know this result is going to, it's like, no, I don't. Let's hold on for a second. So that's been helpful, not watching the news. And with money, I've been listening to an Abraham Hicks money meditation when I take a nap.
Okay, great.
Doing that. I've been inner parenting. I've been writing captain's orders or affirmations around money and watching kind of what thoughts trickle to the surface with that.
Yes.
And using that to knock out some of those limiting beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah. So. And I know a lot of people who don't subscribe to affirmations, and I just want to say, what Amelia is doing with the affirmations is really just conditioning the subconscious mind to look for those opportunities, because that's all it is. It's the same thing. So whether you call it affirmations or whether you call it subconscious activation or maximizing it, whatever, that's all the same stuff. That's brilliant. So those have been, so it's almost like getting off the fast train. That's it. What sounds to me like it's get off the fast train of constant input and rest and kind of claim your own space and your own ground. Am I hearing that right?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Nice one. All right. Shall we change gears a little bit? I'm interested to hear about personal development tools that have really worked for you and how they've worked for you. So we know each other pretty well, but the people who are tuning in might not. So I'm curious for you to share, what are the personal development tools that you've used that have really helped for you, and how have they helped?
So I've studied under Merja for over 3.5 years now, coming on 4. So this might not be surprising to people who know Merja that I have used her inner parenting and 4 people within work, and that has been highly effective for me. As we were just talking about the affirmations, also paired with the inner parenting or 4 people within work. To me, I call it like a 1-2 punch that can knock out these limiting beliefs that we have if you use them effectively. So that's been super helpful. Spiral dynamics. I have a deep love for spiral dynamics.
Yeah, you're like the spiral dynamics fiend.
I'll take it. I have a deep love for spiral dynamics. I've been listening to a lot of Julie and John Gottman's relationship information recently, which I like their way of, one, listening to each other and listening how they relate to each other for relationships, and also the results that they've found with their research. So that's also been helpful for me with kind of looking at relationships as a single lady in January here.
Right. It's a good time of the year to kind of reset. All right. So with the spiral dynamics, for those of you who don't know about that, that's a kind of more, you kind of, every level of spiral dynamics has a specific lesson that shows what teaches you certain lessons. Just shows you what you need to work on in order to get to the next level. And it's not about, I'm trying to get to the next level. It's like you're wanting to learn the lessons, so you then, byproduct of that, is naturally moving on to the next level of awareness and self-mastery. I love that tool as well. It's just beautiful to see it. And it's interesting, you were talking about your current challenges, how if you take the spiral dynamic lens onto those challenges, you really see, even with the presidential, like overnight, the old president was at a certain spiral dynamics level, very tribal, very like second, third level. And then you look at this new president that's come in, Biden, and he, like one of his things I heard something that he was saying, you know, anybody treating anybody else disrespectfully is going to be fired on the spot. So we elevate how we operate with each other. And you look at the jump from the different levels and looking at the experiences that people are having. And of course, you're always going to be at certain levels with certain, you know, parts of your life, and nobody's ever, no level is better than the other. It's just really interesting to put it into that context of how people relate to each other. And that's been just magnified there. So it looks like we have a massive gap between the levels that literally overnight with inauguration it changed. So that was interesting to me. I love the spiral dynamics as well. So what are the things in your personal development journey that didn't help for you, or didn't help you get where you wanted to go, or didn't work for you? And again, we're not really talking about like specific people or teachers or anything like that. It's just the approaches that we're focusing on.
So something that did not work for me was working on myself, trying to figure out my stuff by myself. And I see a lot of other people struggle with this because it's like, I don't know, like you think you know what's going on and you're like, okay. And then you try to solve that. And then it's like you're trying to learn Chinese by not having a teacher, like trying to learn Mandarin.
Not talking, or like not
and
conversing,
in the language. So it's like you don't have a guide. You're just trying to teach this to yourself, and it's growth is slow, very, very slow. You might not see results. So that did not work for me personally. If it works for other people, then wonderful. That's amazing. That didn't work for me. I had a couple coaches that one was, I think she was playing some power games with me, the one I saw before you.
That's a shame.
Which, she wasn't helpful. And I worked with her for a while and I didn't see results. So if you're working with someone and you're not seeing results, it might not be the right person. And then I worked with an investment coach who kind of put everyone on the same path forward, and just like very individual, very unified approach to everyone, which also didn't work because people are different and people have different ideas, what works for them, and different dreams and different ways of approaching things. And that also didn't work for them.
And that's unfortunately a lot of the times when people are either not very experienced in what they're teaching, they think that everybody should do the same thing, or when they're not an experienced teacher, which means that learning style is different for different people. So I'm sorry you had those experiences, but you know, I've seen your own work dramatically change your lifestyle and how you are with yourself and the results that you're getting for yourself. So that's been nice to witness as we've been working together. But
and especially as someone who's jumped into the mentoring field, it's been nice to see the results of being at the receiving end of coaches like this, because I understand why you don't do certain things. I understand what it's like to work with someone who's not seeing results, and I understand what it's like to be a number rather than an individual. So yes, those things are not easy and quite painful at the time, but at the same time, and there's always something to learn from them.
There is always something to learn, like even with the worst coaches. Like I've worked with coaches and mentors for years and years and years. I see the value. And even with the coaches and mentors that, well, coaches in particular, because mentors are people who have experienced what you're already going through. So they're the ones who you're following in their footsteps. So it's more coaches when they're able to sell you something, a vision that is in line. So they could be really good salespeople, which is cool. But then you do have to also get the delivery as well. So it's not just about, selling something, and so having that, thank you for sharing that insight on, if something isn't working for you, just look at it, look at what you can take away from it, what you can actually learn from it, and then move on to something that's a better match. So that's, all to their own. Horses for courses, as they say. So shall we just switch gears a little bit more and
Let's
go
keep
into
switching.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit more about yourself, Amelia, in how do you feel your days? What do you actually do that really fulfills your heart, your soul? What's going on for you every day? What's your everyday? Give us a snapshot of your everyday life.
Everyday life is fun for me because it's different every day. I can't be someone who does the same thing every day. 9 to 5 jobs have never worked for me because of that.
And sorry, I want to jump in there, if I may, with your facets results on the MBTI, the global step 2. So it was really interesting because you were kind of teeter-tottering. Am I an INFJ? Am I an INFP? Because you had a lot of INFP, that exploration experience going in there. And then when we did the global step 2, you found out why. And it's like there's a lot of you like variety, but you like variety within certain parameters, and that was really interesting, and that makes you very different as an INFJ. So if there's INFJs listening and saying, oh, that person can't possibly be an INFJ, there's so much more to it than that. So that was an interesting thing. So you like variety.
I love variety. I kind of need space to do what I want when I want, which is there might be some things under there. I like moving regularly, so I'll sit and work for 25 minutes and take a break, and then I have a large dog who I love to go on walks with, and she gets me outside and moving around and saying hi to the neighbors. I love in the summertime planting a garden that helps the bees and butterflies. So I really like the idea, like it's very 3-year-old inner child here, that it's like my plant friends are also helping the bugs. So it's like my friends are helping
and
the
you
bugs.
Can see it, and you can hear it, and you can smell the flowers. That's awesome.
So that's fun. I'm very much into growing my own food right now, not on large scale levels, just little things here and there. So that's also fun for me. And feels very 3-year-old inner child. So I love doing things that make me happy. I love playing volleyball. It's a lot of that's just movement and doing what feels good to me. So I love doing things that feel good to me in the moment.
Well, for sure. I mean, and that's I think a lot of us can take a page out of that book in particular and kind of go for the more joyous things. I know it can be really hard for INFJs in particular because all INF types, we tend to be very serious people. So then cultivating that joy is so important. That's awesome. So tell us, so we know that you're a mentor, you're an integration mentor, and you work with people, help overcome their emotional trauma. Do you feel like that's your heart's vocation? Like, vocationally speaking, how do you feel your days? What do you do?
Like money wise, what do I do for money?
Well, if your money is in line, if your money making is in line with your vocation, your heart's desire, then that's awesome. Yeah. But do they match for you?
Yeah. And I talked to a couple people recently, and I was asking them what's their version of success. And they were saying having the freedom to do what you like to do. And I very much feel like I'm on that level as well, where I get to help people upgrade their lives and stop sabotaging themselves and really take ownership of their life. So this is it for me now. I also own some investment properties here in Kansas City, so that kind of can keep me busy with some things, which I like different aspects about that. So Yeah,
That's
so I'm pretty
awesome.
happy for now. Is this going to be a forever thing? I don't know, but right now,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And you have that insight and that capacity to really help people and really be present with them, which is amazing. If you can do that with clients as a mentor, that is what really the presence and it's like a quiet power to really be present with people and with what they're going through, especially when you're working with people who are overcoming traumatic past. So yeah. And so you feel like your heart's vocation and your like income are on the same path. You're on the path that allows you to combine the two.
Yes. Yes, and I'm very lucky to do it.
Well, are you lucky or have you worked toward it? You know, like, because we make our own luck to a really large degree. I get that space where I come
Yeah.
from no money and people say to me, oh, you're very lucky to be able to do what you do and be comfortable. It's not luck. In my case, not luck. It's deliberate, like a stubborn dog not letting go of the bone, which is I will do work that allows me to be happy, and I will, I will be comfortable, financially comfortable as well. Yeah. So how
Yeah.
much of it is luck?
I think I think it's not so lucky, like you said. I think I'm exceptionally stubborn as well, to where I refuse to do certain things.
Yeah.
I absolutely refuse, and I could put a more explicit curse word in there. But I absolutely refuse to do certain things,
Yeah.
and because of that, it forces me to really have to get comfortable with things that I don't want to be comfortable with. So
Yeah.
it's one reason
Yeah.
why I'm so obsessive with my personal development, because I know my way up is it's like, in order to get up, I have to go down first,
Yeah. Yeah.
into
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. I mean, trees' roots are as deep as their drip circle is, so as their branches are wide. So yeah, that's absolutely true. And also, let's make it really clear, and I think you probably subscribe to this as well. Wanting the life that you want comes with a price. And you said, it makes you get comfortable with things that you're not necessarily comfortable with. You're learning new things, but this isn't like I'm going to design my life the way I want it and now I'm entitled to it. So there can't be a sense of entitlement. You're still going to have to work your bum off. But if you're working, if you're working your bum off for something that's actually meaningful for you, then that's a whole different lifestyle than working your bum off for something that you don't care about. So there's still work involved. Hard work, roll up the sleeves. So we don't want to give an idea of, oh, you just decide what you want and you just have it. You still have to work for it. Yeah. Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that you're on that kind of trajectory where you're, getting both your heart looked after, your soul looked after, as well as your pocketbook. So that's brilliant. So Amelia, what's giving you hope right now?
There are a lot of things giving me hope right now, because you can always find hope in the dark. Something that's giving me hope right now is, like I said, the change in presidents here in the United States, and I live in the United States. So this Biden has much more of a unifier tone and is about really deeply caring about people. That's giving me hope, just to have that energy. And he's not going to be perfect. He's going to mess up. He's going to make bad decisions. He's going to do things that are wrong. And because no one's perfect. No one is perfect. And expecting to have a president that's absolutely perfect is going to keep you frustrated with things. So I'm not expecting him to be perfect, but just him caring is going to be helpful. So that's giving me hope right now. Seeing how far I've come gives me hope. seeing my changes in winter gives me hope, because it's like every winter comes around as I've been working on inner parenting, and my life keeps getting easier during the winter, having less seasonal depression, feeling warmer. So that's always interesting to see.
Wow. That's a nice, real, like zoomed out example of what personal development work can do. Look at the seasons. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So,
and it's not like I came into personal development trying to do work on my seasonal depression or feeling warmer. It's just side effects of how when you deal like with the deep emotional stuff, when you deal with the deep emotional stuff, the physical aspects of it can literally just kind of poof and go away.
And it feels like a miracle, but of course it's not. It's you're working on it. And then you're working on it, and then you hit a tipping point, and then it's like, oh, that's no longer a problem for me. Oh, and it's weird. And it's like, oh, I wonder what happened. And if you don't look back and see what happened, the work you did to get there, you don't recognize how hard you worked on it. So you think it's up to chance, but of course not up to chance. It's up to you. Like you have to keep plowing through. And so let's just say that you're having a really hard time, like on a granular level, you're having a really hard time. I know there are times when I've been feeling really hopeless, like there's no point to anything, certainly with PTSD, those kinds of things. So what do you actually kind of say to yourself, or how do you have hope in those times? How do you speak to yourself to kind of bring yourself out of it again?
Yeah, I think that part of me knows now that I will be okay. And it's like, I can have a hard time in the moment, but that having a hard time is not going to be a forever thing. And it's not going to be
that's been a process, right? So that's been like, has that been one of those tipping point kind of things where you just work on it, and, or how did you recognize that? I'm interested.
I recognize that by finally, I think, stepping out of this victim space, that I don't have any options with this. I'm at the mercy of other people. And this is something I think I really understood with COVID is having to pick myself up and look at, okay, things aren't going to go the way I want them to go.
Yeah.
But if I can stay open to this, and I'm going to be uncomfortable and I'm going to be scared, but I'm like, okay, there's something good that's going to happen from this if I can keep my eyes open from it. And just staying open to that idea, which we were talking about the subconscious earlier, will keep your subconscious open to seeing ideas versus like, this is going to be completely a hard time. And then you slam down, your subconscious like closes, and then you're looking for how you're seeing hard times. So
sorry,
so just staying open to it. Also getting help is also nice to hear.
Yeah.
Because if you're having a really hard time, like, you need to hear things from other people. And if you're not talking about them, it's making yourself having such a harder time.
For sure.
So getting help, whether that's from a friend, just listening to podcasts, getting validation from people like, I hear you, I hear you, I hear you, that can be helpful. So that is something that's also crucial.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom in that. And sometimes we need to hear somebody say it's going to be okay, because that can soothe the 3-year-old inner child so much, especially for INFJs. And I have a couple of very close INFPs in my life. And I've said to them, when I'm like this, can you please tell me it's going to be okay? And they're kind of like, well, I can't tell you that because I don't know if it's going to be okay. Because, the whole authenticity train, the whole, I'm an ethicist, I don't want to tell you something that's not right. And and in that space, I just kind of say, well, I don't need it to be right. I just need to hear the word. So is it okay if you can, that's really authentic to me, that if you can say that, that would be really helpful. And it has been, so it doesn't compromise anybody. We don't know if things are going to be okay, but actually, once we've had enough kind of mileage under our belts with things that haven't gone exactly how we wanted, and then there has been something good that's come out of it, then we start to realize that. And I love that you really pointed that out so in such a granular way, that there is always hope, even if we don't see it in the moment. Like, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Oh, that's a big one.
And it's hard too, because you need some kind of knowing or trust or having faith or stubbornness. So that's so if you're unsure about, if you're listening to this, and even if you're unsure about things and you're not sure if the world's a good place, or you're feeling really hard done by it, with your words, Merja, just getting help also can help with that. So.
Oh, massively. And we don't, as introverts, we don't like to turn outward, and we need to learn. That's a skill too, to say, hey, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. Can you help? Yeah. So how do you inner parent yourself? Like when you're feeling anxious, like how do you work with your 10-year-old, inward thinking, or your 3-year-old outward sensing? Like, what do you actually say to those parts of you?
So when my 10-year-old's feeling anxious, it often thinks like, I know this is going to happen, or this. So it's like that can be that where it's like, I know this is going to happen, when it's like, well, then this part of me really needs to have questions asked to it. It's like, well, how do you know this? Because it's a thinker. So you need to like show the thinking that their thoughts are biased. And you can do that by asking them questions. Like, well, how do you know that?
Yeah, and we're all biased, by the way, just for everyone's benefit. All of the 4 people within us are biased, and we are all biased as people. So there's nothing wrong with bias. It's just understanding that it's there and utilizing it to your maximizing the strength of your bias. Yeah.
Yeah, and showing the inner children too that their biases might not be helpful for you right now.
Right.
So, and then the other thing with my 10-year-old is needing things to make sense, or like, well, how do I know this is gonna happen?
Yeah.
That's very much the 10-year-old, and it's just like, well, we don't know, but we can be patient and be okay either way. So that's kind of the things I say to my 10-year-old, or because you kind of have to pay attention to the words that you're saying.
Yeah.
To hear those words.
So is it like learning to press pause?
I think it's
learning. That conversation.
I think it's learning, for me, it's learning those voices, because when I can hear those voices, I can go, oh, okay, that's what that is. Oh, okay, this is my 3-year-old. Oh, okay, this is my 10-year-old. And so with my 3-year-old, it's just, my 3-year-old is so sweet. It's like so deeply sweet, like so deeply sweet, which most people might not see in me. That this part just really needs to know that there's like nothing wrong with her, and it's like, it's not your fault, and it's okay to be scared.
Yeah.
So it's like really becoming that protective mother that's just kind of protecting that part of me against things that can go wrong, and it allows me to allows that part of me to feel safe and secure while operating in this crazy world we live in.
Right, because it's so stimulating, especially for the 3-year-old inner child. Yeah, for the INFJs. So what about when you get angry? How do you parent yourself, or how do you parent your inner children out of like angry spaces?
Yeah, I think I've grown to love being angry, mostly because I think a lot of introverted INF types can be scared of the anger, don't know what to do with the anger. And when I'm angry, I can do things like physically get it out, so like throwing sticks, which is also challenging if my dog's around and she's like, oh, this is a game. So it's hard to stay angry with that, because she starts chasing after them. But throwing sticks, hitting a pillow on a bed, screaming in a car, journaling about it. Also talking to myself, like when I'm angry, I'm like, yeah, fuck that shit. Like, let's get angry about this. So it's like responding to anger with anger, so that anger can feel like it's validated and heard, rather than being like, don't be angry. And then your anger part of you is like, that shuts your anger down, and it can just make it even worse. So it's validating yourself, getting it out. And also anger is really important because it will show you what you need to change going forward. And really that's a lot of what the anger is that I found. So it's like, okay, I let this happen. I'm angry about this. What do I need to change going forward?
Yeah. Brilliant. And anger is such a powerful tool if you use it right. And if you use it wrong, it's like hammering a nail with a screwdriver. That's not going to work. So you're just going to get injured, or you're going to injure somebody else. So we need to be, anger is such a powerful tool. We need to, with great power comes great responsibility. So yeah. So what do you think people don't understand about inner parenting? Like, what would you say, what do you think is the most confusing thing about inner parenting work from your perspective? And what would you say about that? Like, what would you like to clarify about inner parenting?
I think inner parenting is confusing because it's an inner experience.
Yeah.
And I can't put somebody else's mind yet, technology isn't here yet. I can't like put somebody else's thoughts into my mind and see like how my thoughts work. Yeah. I can't show people like, oh, this is what I say, or like, oh, this is me recognizing this thought.
Right.
So it's kind of like you have to believe it, or like try it first before you can see it, or kind of try to understand it first. It's not like I can go around and be like, oh, look, your haircut's off. Do you need a new haircut or something like that?
Yeah.
It's not. So I think that's also confusing for people because they're like, I don't know. I don't know about these inner children. And it's like, well, they're in your life already. They're already existing. They're probably out of control, maybe. And then it's like, okay, how can we, and it's like, I can't like put like I can't like put my abilities to inner parent on other people and be like, this is what it's like if you work on it.
Yeah. Well, you can't just transfer it. You can actually help them with it through doing the mentoring with you, but you can't you can't give them the understanding. And this is, I think, what a lot of INF types in particular are challenged with. We have an insight. We have a really deep capacity to understand ourselves and other people, but how do we actually put it across? How can we get that information out to a person in a way that, first of all, is relevant to them? Because if they're not asking for information, they're not going to hear what you have to say. Yep. And then secondly, in a way that's understandable in their world. Like, what are the points of references that you can look? For example, if you have a sensory person or thinker sensor person, you can't go, you have to give examples of a feeler inner child or an intuitive inner child. Like, sometimes when you get a gut feeling that something's, this way or that way, that's your inner child. Or, so you have to give really granular examples of how it is. So yeah, you're right. It's how do you take that information from your head and stick it onto somebody so that they can understand what you're even talking about? Yeah. Shall we start wrapping up? I have one final question for you, Amelia, today. So what's your golden nugget for today for people? So what would you like if people just took one thing away from today's sesh? What would you like it to be?
I think INF types can particularly feel lost. I think they can particularly feel like people don't get them or they're not understood. And I just want people to know if you're listening, there is a solution to your challenges. There are ways that you don't have to keep doing what you're doing. There's hope out there. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and reaching out for help is one way to do that. And also reaching out for help in small ways. So not like signing up for someone who you've never worked with for a year. It's like, what
Right.
small things can you do to test them if you want to go that route? So I think it's important just to, like, I hear you, I get it. I understand some of your challenges because I've probably had them as well, much like you, Merja. So it's like we have commonalities with these Myers-Briggs types, although we're not all exactly the same.
Yeah.
That we can relate to each other, and your life can get a lot better. So
yeah, and a lot sooner when we don't realize because the 10-year-old, especially with INFJs, believes that they already know everything. When the 10-year-old has had enough in every type, has had enough life experience to think that they know how things work. And if you're in that kind of loop where you think you already should have all the answers, that's your 10-year-old speaking. You don't, because we all continue to grow forevermore. So thank you for speaking to that, and I hope that gives people hope who might have felt like there's nobody that can actually help them or understand where they are. And so we're going to put some links onto this, onto the comment section of this video and audio for how you can reach Amelia, ask for help, and really get, if you have that trauma from your childhood, from earlier in your life, how you can get some help for that right now. And I hope that you've really enjoyed, everyone, this episode of Real Conversations with INFJs and INFPs. And I really, really hope that you've enjoyed this first season that we've done with Amelia. Amelia, I want to thank you for bringing your unique experiences and your unique perspectives on to the table, and in with the purpose of supporting those who maybe have been pondering about what you've experienced and what you've gone through. Thank you for being so open. Thank you for being so transparent with your experiences on behalf of anyone who's got help from these sessions with you. Thank you so much. And everyone, if you've liked what you've heard today, click on the like button, leave us a message. We do read the comments. And also, if you feel like this has been a helpful episode for somebody in your life that perhaps has had similar experiences to what we've discussed today, or if you feel like you're having or you've had these experiences and you'd like it to be explained in a way that might make sense to somebody in your life, feel free to share this episode with them. A family member, a colleague, or even a friend. We're all about bringing people together and starting these conversations that help us help ourselves and other people understand ourselves a bit better. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, Amelia, I'll leave the last word for you. Thank you so much for this final episode of the 6-season bunch that we've done. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me be a guest on 6 episodes straight. It's always a pleasure talking with you, and always insightful for me. I'm sure your audience is getting things out of it as well. So yeah, thanks for having me here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Amelia. And we will move on to season 2 soon. And I'm going to be having INFPs joining me on that season. So thank you, everyone. And we'll talk to you real soon. Look after yourselves.